What's up, everybody? Welcome to this week's edition of the show, where it's always our privilege and honor to show up with you each and every week, helping you think maybe a little different, reminding you of some promises you made to yourself, and introducing you to people that we're just meeting around the world. And today's guest is an example of practicing what we preach. And one of the things we always talk about here is your circle of five and the five people that influence you the most. And in today's world, we're so blessed to be able to move in between circles and to move people into our circle and out of our circle through the use of social media, technology. And that's exactly how I met this week's guest is at the beginning of the new year, I went through and kind of cleaned out some of my social media stuff. If I was getting a lot of stuff that didn't make me feel good, didn't uplift me, didn't give me the emotions and the feelings I wanted from being on social media, I blocked or unfollowed certain people, added new people in that were fulfilling that need. And that's how I met this week's guest is through good content. And so I challenge you before we even get started with this interview is to go through your social media. And if you're getting a bunch of stuff that makes you feel angry and upset, and understand the algorithm for playing to your emotions there. So clean out some of the stuff that's in there, add some new people, be really proactive in the people that are posting good stuff and the stuff you want to see more of. Engage with them, comment, like, share, so that you can manipulate the algorithm to be the social media you want, not just what they think you might be wanting. So all that said, to let you know that this week's guest is one of my newest friends. She's a holistic and leadership personal development coach with an impressive background as an NCIS special agent who has transitioned into a sought-after leadership coach, inspiring many through her podcast, Tactical Harmony, and her website, tacticalharmony.com. Her unique insights and practical strategies have helped countless individuals and organizations thrive. And I'm excited to bring her and her story to you this week to help get you moving again, get your feet going right, get a bounce in your step, a little smile on your face, and give you something to think about for the next 45 minutes. Challenge yourself a little bit. So I hope you enjoy this week's interview with my guest, my newest friend, Rebecca Fitzsimmons. Becca, my newest friend, welcome to the On Purpose podcast. How are you today?
I'm doing well. How you doing, brother?
Fantastic. I'm not shoveling snow, which is exactly why we have this life.
Yeah, I'm watching my husband outside my window right now. He's got the shovel and he's moving the snow.
But you love it. So I'm happy for you. I know it brings you peace and tranquility, and there is some beauty to that, but I'm gonna take 80 degrees and humidity in Florida.
Yeah, I do. I've had the blessing and the honor to live around the world, and with that comes living in a lot of different climates. And I've lived in climates where I didn't have my four seasons and the snow, and I found myself just missing it every single time. And I've done this so many years, and so I just need it. My soul needs that change and like the transition and everything like that the seasons bring. It's really the impermanence of life and how things move. And yeah, so I enjoy it and it does bring me peace and tranquility.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right on that. And honestly, one of the first years we started traveling full time, one of our goals was to stay warm and avoid snow. What we found is that threw off our biological rhythms. Like I had no idea what time of year it was,
Mm.
right? Because like we were in a perpetual summer.
Yeah.
So I remember like in April, I was like, oh man, football season's got to be starting soon. It feels like it should be fall. And you're like, no, it's actually spring.
Oh, it's amazing how that like things trigger in your body. It's almost like muscle memory that you didn't even know you had built. Like, oh, it's snowing. That means I need to make chili. And, it's
Mm.
football season. Or, hey, it's springtime. That means it's baseball or whatever it is. It's funny how it kind of triggers other external things outside of you just by the leaves changing colors, snow falling from the sky. It's pretty wild.
Yeah. And smells in your house. That was the thing I missed the most. But I told Andrew we had to do this year is like around Thanksgiving, I had to have like the smell of like pumpkin pie. Not Starbucks pumpkin pie lattes or whatever, but like legit like turkey in the oven. Like there's just things that we missed. And I think that is such a good metaphor for us, Rebecca, to our leadership talks, right? And what we're going to dive into later is if we can have memories come up with smells and certain weather environments, then how people talk to us and how we talk to them can trigger the same kind of responses in the people we're trying to help better or learn from.
1000%. I mean, there's so much to unpack there. And ironically, I just dropped a post on my LinkedIn about that, about how a song triggered a response that I had to a triple homicide suicide many years ago. And to this day, when I hear that song, I'm immediately back to that day. I know every other, special agent that was working alongside me. I remember the leads. I remember the shock. I remember just everything about that day. And that's just one song that immediately brings my mind and my body back to that state, kind of reliving that. And that really can work for us and it can work against us, right? Like the opposite is true. And so once we realize our personal power and how we can harness that from our mind, our body, and our spirit, the game of life as we know it changes.
Mm. All right, before we get into that, I got to warm you up. Like, I know it's early in the morning out there in Montana. I got to make sure you're ready to go. I can't just have you jump into the big stuff, kid. We're going to get injured doing that. All right. Can't have nobody pulling up a hammy first thing in the morning. All right, Rebecca.
I go big, right? Like I'm an extremist. My sleeves are rolled up. We got the coffee. We're ready. I'm double fisting. I got water. We're
Mm.
ready to rock and roll, Jared. We're
All right,
ready.
let's hit you with some warm-up questions. All right, here you go, Rebecca. Sunrises or sunsets?
Sunrise.
Why?
We were just talking about this, the magic of the morning. It's the newness and the beginning of something, which is a new day that we're so blessed to have. And if we can just really sit in the presence of the sunrise and the beginning of a new day and the possibility, right? Because it's either probability or possibility.
Mm.
Probability is like, hey, we're living in the past and there's all these things behind us and we're kind of living on a past program. Whereas possibility is the unknown. It's uncharted territory, which is the blessing of this day. So, sunrise.
Oh, I love it. Favorite book?
Oh gosh. That's like asking me my favorite movie. I have like my all-time top five. But if you're making me choose, I'm gonna say this book, The Game of Life and How to Play It by Florence Scovel-Shinn.
Oh, wow. What'd you take away from that one?
Oh gosh. So many lessons and blessings. But if I had to choose one, we're gonna go with we're the creator of our lives, and everything around us is a crystallization of what we've manifested, of what we've called in, whether
Mm.
we like it, whether we don't like it. It's really harnessing that personal responsibility and ownership for how we think because our word is our wand. And then that affects how we feel and how we act. And she was such a visionary back in, I think it was the 1800s. She doesn't really use the word manifest. Like I know today, law of attraction, manifest. It's like what all the cool kids are talking about. But this was so many years ago. And she lays it out in such a simple format that you can understand, you can pick up, and you can run with immediately. And it was so transformative, not just for me, but for my husband and how we realized we were experiencing life. And it is one of those books that I have read so many times. And those people like, oh, I reread this book and this and that so many times. I'm like, I don't know how that person does that until I became that person with the game of life and how to play it. And I have read it more times than I can count. So it's a transformative book.
Yeah, and I want to make a note on something you mentioned there. I want to get to it later in the show, and that's doing it with your husband, Mark reading the same books. And Andrea and I are big on that. And I want to explore that a little bit. But first, I gotta make sure you're still ready to go. I'm still not sure we're out of hamstring tearing it time right here yet.
Let's do it.
All right. Quote you remember.
A quote I remember. We'll go with the same boiling water that softens a potato, hardens the egg. It's about what you're made of, not circumstances.
That's a good one. I do love that one. All right, here's one for you. You get to have a superpower, Rebecca. I'm just gonna grant you a wish. You get a superpower. What power do you want and why would you want it?
Well, this one popped in my brain, so we're gonna go with it, and that's probably the ability to teleport. And I want that because the beauty of living and working around the world is that I have so many beautiful souls that I've been able to interact with. And they're in Okinawa, Japan, they're in Germany, they're in Dubai, they're in Peru, and I don't get to see them. And it can be literally like decades, and that's a lot. And so, if I had the ability to teleport and to go see my buddy and my brothers and sisters around the world, what a gift that would be, that I wouldn't have to worry about flying or driving or the logistics of travel or all of that, which is a blessing in and of itself that we have that ability to do in this day and age. But to remove all that and just to kind of like be like a little genie, and I can transport and see my parents in Ohio, my family, my other extended family, my chosen family around the world, what a gift that would be.
Yeah, that would be great. As I was traveling last week, I had the same thoughts that, man, I would love to just zoom myself across the world. All right, you get one more warm-up question here. You get to have dinner with one person. Who would you want to have dinner with and why? And what would you want to ask them? I mean,
Mm. I'm gonna go with Dr. Joe Dispenza.
oh, okay, okay. I see that.
I'm gonna go with him and just to explore the edges of our mind, our capabilities, all things neuroscience, just how, I mean, we can cure ourselves of stage 4 cancer. People that once could not walk are able to walk. People that couldn't see are able to see by the power of self-healing and doing the internal work and meditation and regulating our nervous systems. It is something that I have been utterly fascinated with, especially over these last several years. The power of the mind beyond what we could even think is possible. And he is so known for, I mean, evidence is the loudest voice. And there's just so much that he has been able to put out into the world, but also bring scientific studies around. Like, I love, like, hey, this is science. These are things that you can actually look at and measure. Electromagnetic fields around our heart and our mind. And when that's in coherence, what that means for us and our experience, collapsing timelines. I mean, like, this is like Einstein stuff. So it would be Dr. Joe Dispenza, and it would be surrounding all of those amazing topics I just mentioned.
Yeah, that's good. Where are you at in the books? How many of the books have you read?
Oh gosh. Well, I think the one that I have actually on my desk is Becoming Supernatural, which is a really, really good book. But there are so many. Like I've listened to a lot of his recorded interviews on podcasts. I jump on YouTube a lot and I watch him. And I'm actually going to go to one of his retreats this year, which I'm really excited about. But it's really not one. I think that I really enjoy his interviews the best, because this can be pretty complicated, and it goes really, like, there's a lot of technical information, which I love. I'm a science, like, I love science. I have a degree in science. I love it. But I love watching him speak because he's so passionate about demystifying and making things very simple that you can pick up, you can move, you can integrate, you can just immediately run with. And so I really enjoy watching him. And you can just Google him, put him in YouTube, and there's just so many videos and interviews. And I'm like, I'm hooked. Like, I could just
Yeah.
watch him for 2, 3, 4 hours, and I'm like, where'd the time go?
Yeah, that's good. Becoming Supernatural is the book I'm currently just finishing up, and that's definitely been I would say a game changer for us going into 2025. And I want to now go back to asking you about reading books with Mark and including Mark in your self work. Reading books like Joe Dispenza and sharing it with your spouse. What does that do for you?
Mm, yeah. So we started this probably, I actually can remember it was around 2018, 2019 when I started this journey. And my husband is so open to all of the things, right? Like professional development, personal development, Reiki, meditation, alternate ways to experience life, and all the holistic things, mind, body, and spirit. And so it really started with a podcast, and we're listening to podcasts, and we're listening to um, actually the Florence Scovel The Game of Life and How to Play It. And we were listening to that at like a recording of it. And he just started to open up. Like he was like opening up and blossoming. He's like, oh my gosh, like I've never heard things put in this way. And just having such an open heart and mind, and then being able to collaborate. So, because you can hear something and I can hear something and we may interpret it differently. But when you have that energy exchange, it becomes even more powerful, right? The energy grows, which is why when you are at a retreat or an event and we all have energy we're putting on something, it grows. Like we've measured this. And speaking of Dr. Joe Dispenza, so when Mark and I, my husband, when we have conversations after we hear something and then we figure out, okay, well, what can we do to, let's say, make a sacrifice on the altar of faith? So we want to call something in. Let's do something in advance of that to show our faith and our trust and, to God and the universe or whatever you might believe, that we're going to call this in and we've got this. And so we started to combine forces and magic happens. Like literally what we're thinking about and what we are wishing will happen, it's no longer wishing, like things are happening with ease and flow. And that's when we're in coherence and we're in lockstep. So the power of doing something, and maybe you don't have a spouse. For a listener, it could be a friend, it could be a buddy, it could be a family member. But to be able to do that and have that energy exchange and then really learn from that person and their interpretation, it helps you push and grow. It helps you step outside of your comfort zone, because we do not grow when we're comfortable. So we want to explore those things that we haven't before so we can push ourselves, step into the unknown, and then evolve and step into greater levels of power.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the other thing for Andrew and I, what it's done is it's made us open to other communication as well, right?
Yes.
Like when you sit down and you go, hey, what did you take from this chapter? What were your insights? Then you might also not hold so fast to something else you think is true, right? And like some of the smaller arguments that you get in, or just the nuances of life, you become a little more curious. And I think when you explain, that's what I hear, right? Is when both people are curious together,
Mhm. Mhm.
that becomes a habit. That
It
then
does.
now maybe you did something that I'm like, oh, why would you do that? Instead of being like, why did you do that? Like, I'm curious, why would you do it? Like, tell me your thoughts. And I don't think enough people put the emphasis on growing together. We do a lot of self-help and there's a lot of individual stuff, but you're just like you were saying, you get a friend, a buddy, a family member, a spouse, and when you grow together, it's amazing.
It really is. And things can happen that you can't predict, right? And that's the beauty of life. Like, I don't know what's around the corner. I can anticipate. And certainly from our past training, like we're trained to anticipate and try to figure things out. But at the end of the day, we don't know. And as you said, which is very powerful, it's really the habits. And I affectionately refer to habits as the building blocks of life. It's truly how we experience life. What I do every single day and the little habits determine the direction of my life and the trajectory I'm headed in, right? So if I can do that with my husband and we have goals, I'm not rising to those goals. I'm rising, or I'm falling to my habits.
Yeah.
So if we understand the power of those, the power of everything that I do, how I start my day, how I end my day, and not to do it in a way where you're so serious and you're so rigid and inflexible. I'm not meaning that, because I'm a very carefree spirit. But what I mean is you got to bring to your conscious mind a radical awareness of what you're thinking, you're feeling, you're doing, the little things or the big things. And when you do that with your partner, with your husband, with your wife, with a friend, you really not only have that accountability, but like you said, you start to communicate in a different way. And I'm going to pick on my husband. He always hears me say this, and now he catches himself, and I'm so proud of him because he says this all the time now. And that's you're like, oh, I have to do the dishes. And he's like, oh, no, Rebecca, I get to do them. I get to do this because I'm blessed to have dishes because I had a warm meal when many people don't.
Yeah.
And he will tell you that's really transformed him because he didn't realize how many things he had to do. Oh, I got to shower. Oh, I got to do the dishes. Oh, I got to snow. I got to plow the snow.
Right.
No, I get to do these things, and it changes your energy, which changes your life.
Yeah, and it's funny, right? Because there might even be people listening today that go, "Ah, man, that's just too much. I don't have time to do that kind of stuff." And then my comment to them would be, "Okay, that's your habit then, saying you don't have time, Or, well, I don't believe in that. That's your habit. Like, and I think for us it works, and it clearly works for you too. And too many times we dismiss something that's new to us based on what we think has worked or hasn't worked in the past without trying things, especially as we get older.
Hmm. Yeah, it's because we have a blueprint, we have an operating system, we have a program,
Mm.
whichever word or term resonates. And I think, oh gosh, I can't remember the age. I think it's by age 30, 35, somewhere around there. You have a memorized set of habits of your blueprint of how you operate, and it's very natural to you. So it's going to be a little harder or uncomfortable when you want to change that because your body's used to doing something or feeling a certain way, and you do not even realize it because it's just what you know and what you've memorized year after year after year. So when someone says they don't have time, I affectionately say BS. If a single mom with 5 kids can start a business and can thrive and can do all these things, if look at any successful person that they're getting up at 04 or 05 to fit in the workout when they have so much on their plate. If your what and why are powerful enough, you're gonna do it. And it requires getting leverage on yourself. It requires having that hunger or thirst for something greater than yourself. But once you find that and you kind of unlock, like, ooh, next level, here we go, it's all different. So, but it requires that person to want it bad enough and to get after it.
What would you say, Rebecca? Because I 100% agree with you. What would you say to somebody that's like, that sounds good, but I just can't see that it's possible for me? Like they just don't even see that there's a possibility. What would you say to them?
I would say start small because
Mm.
everyone has a step in front of them. And so often we romanticize the ending or outcome, but we dread the execution. And so I don't think about like, well, if I'm running a marathon, it's truly one step at a time. I want to build a wall, it's one brick at a time. And so you have a step in front of you. Like, and everyone has that. If I want to lose weight, let me go buy a new workout like outfit. I mean, start there. Like literally, there's nothing too small. Start there, and then you're gonna feel good. Like you're putting it on and you're stepping into that power. Okay, great. Start with one push-up. Start with just something at your house. You don't even have to buy the membership because once you realize a 1% shift, and I love this term, it's called Kaizen, that art of continuous improvement. Focus on getting 1% better each and every day. I mean, literally, if you're a farmer and you're on a tractor, I love this analogy, and you just shift 1%, look where you'll be in a mile. Like
Mhm.
so far away from where you would have gone if you would have stayed straight. So if we can understand that intellectually, insight without action is not enough. Execution trumps knowledge every day of the week. We live in a day and age, no is not enough. We must do, we must act. So take messy action. Let me give you a permission slip. Let me take away the perfectionist or it's got to be this way or that. No, let me take that, rock out of your pack. Just start with where you are. And not only you will build confidence, then you build momentum and you slowly train your brain to see what's possible, right? And you got to overcome the old to embrace the new. So you're going to have to, and it's a death, like kill that
Mhm.
old program, kill your old self, kill that old habit of staying up to 01, binging Netflix. Like you got to kill that part of you to welcome and hold the space to bring in these new things. If it's possible for me, it's possible for you.
Yeah, and it is. And that's we underestimate the value of momentum. And that's one of the things I stress to people is like if you haven't started or you keep waiting to get started, you are not building momentum. You're reversing your momentum, right? You're just pushing it off. So now it's building up against you. And like we said, if I put off tomorrow and then I put off the next day and the next week, now I have the habit of putting off, which will have its own momentum. But if I start with one step and then tomorrow's a step, even if it's small, it's still creating momentum in the positive where I'm trying to get. And and especially like sports fans, they know about momentum, right? A team's doing great. All of a sudden there's a timeout or a weird call. Next time you know the team has been getting crushed now has all the momentum and they come back. But we don't see the value in creating it for ourselves with small actions. We want that big result to hang on the wall. We want the big, like you said, the weight loss. but we don't get there without creating momentum.
Yeah, 1000%. And you know, another element to unpack is the mental rehearsal. I mean, you brought up athletes, or we could bring up musicians, anyone at a particular craft, you have that mental rehearsal ahead of time. So if you learn to harness your mindset and use it in a different way, because otherwise it'll use you,
Yeah.
then you start to like practice ahead of time. And again, because I love this, there's studies on this that show someone that actually practiced, I think it was the piano every single day, and then those that mentally rehearse that same, you know, song and melody and harmony, all of the things, the percentage difference in like, hey, when we actually did it, it was like the same or like better with the person that mentally rehearsed. So we cannot underestimate the power of our mind and our thoughts, and how even mentally rehearsing, going to the gym, what would it feel like getting up and then putting on my new outfit and then getting my butt to the gym and doing it? Because come on, we're not going to have a bad workout. We're going to leave there feeling good. Our blood's pumping, you know, our muscles are strengthened. I mean, there's so many benefits. I will not bore the audience with physical fitness, but we all know there's so much goodness to it. We're going to feel amazing. And that's step one. But the hardest part is getting your butt to the gym. The hardest part is like, you have to have that discipline, which I define as the ultimate expression of self-love. I'm going to do this because it's for the betterment of myself and my life, and I'm not going to feel bad about it. And when I do, when I don't want to do something, then I'm still going to do it. I'm not going to negotiate with myself, but you have to build that discipline, which is also a habit.
Yeah.
That's also a habit, right? So starting small will make it not overwhelming, and it'll give you that ability to see what you're capable of. And then soon you build and you build and you compound, and then the results get bigger, and then you see what's possible. And then that's how you grow.
Yeah, for sure. And I love what you're talking about, because you're constantly putting yourself in a place where you can grow. And I think that is so important in life, is sometimes we play it safe. We put ourselves in positions where we've already achieved a certain thing and we're no longer growing, which takes me back to one of the first things I found Rebecca when our paths crossed on social media. And I was like, wow, she's pretty cool. Let me look into her story. And there was a little reel you posted about a conversation your dad had with you. I think maybe you said when you were a teenager and you were playing sport. I can't remember if it was basketball or softball. And he challenged you not to be the best on your team, like to put yourself in a room where you're not the best person. Share with us kind of that mindset, and what did you learn from being encouraged to do that?
Yeah, that is so powerful. And I love that you brought that up, because my father is a very quiet, soft-spoken man. So when he talks, you listen. But one of his things, like he was so athletic in his day, boxing and football and all the things. And softball was where I excelled. I'm gonna toot my horn. I was a damn good ball player. I loved it. And that is all credit to Ronnie, because he taught me how to do it since age 4. And what he taught me, Jared, was the power of consistency. Every weekend, every day, grounder after grounder after grounder after grounder. And all little Rebecca wanted to do was, I wanted to go bat and I wanted to have fun. He's like, no, the grounders over and over and over and over again. And so it made me so powerful. But what he taught me, and that real, now you're referring to, I remember, is I put out, because it was on my heart and mind, and I put something out when I'm thinking about it. I put it out because intuitively someone will need to hear it if it's in my mind, and I'm an instrument to share to help others.
Right.
So that particular day, I remember it was, if you're around people that are the same, or maybe they're not performing at your skill level, and no shade, like everyone's on their own journey. Don't compare someone's chapter 1 to chapter 10, but you're not going to grow. You're not going to be pushed or challenged personally or professionally. But if you're in the room, if you're on the court, if you're on the field with people that are better than you or years ahead of you, right? This is the power of hiring coaches and mentors and things. Then you're going to grow. You're going to see what's possible. Talking about possibility, you're going to see that talent runway. And wow, do I have a lot to grow. I thought I was kick ass. Boy, was I wrong. I could be so much better. I could learn so many other things. And so my dad, so simply in my blueprint, when we were young, we were so impressionable. He was like, always play with someone better than you. That's how you get better. Little did I know the translation of that and the application would apply to all areas of my life. And I didn't realize, again, when you're, and it's a blueprint, you don't realize it's running in the background. And so I always wanted to be in a room where someone's better. I always wanted to, you know what? I mastered crim. I want to try counterintelligence and counterterrorism. And I did that. I want to try leadership. I did that. I want to live and operate overseas. I want to be challenged. I want to grow. I don't want to get stagnant. And that's actually the secret to happiness. Because if we're not growing, we die. Like outside of humans, you become extinct. So we want to grow in all areas. And when we do that and we put ourselves in the room with people that are better and we're learning and constantly evolving, we're feeling damn good and we're building momentum without even realizing it. So thank you, Ronnie, my beautiful father, for that. And it has really served me in my life.
You know what I love hearing that story is he taught you to value the process over the win, right? That's what that boils down to me is he wasn't like, Rebecca, did you win today? He was like, Rebecca, what'd you learn?
Mhm.
And
Yes.
and too many times we want to skip the learning and just get to the wins.
Yep.
And then if we don't think we can win or winning gets difficult, we don't do the process anymore.
Mhm. Yeah. And it's failure. And, we look at failure as the F word, it's bad. And it's like, no, 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 I still won because like part of success is failing. I'm not going to win every game. I'm not going to do that. And I learned through that. And it's not just a cliche thing to say. I've learned so much from the times that I've failed or made a mistake or stepped off track. Like I'm learning from successes as well, but I'm learning from those other parts. And so we shouldn't avoid it. And you're absolutely right. It's not, I'm so focused on the outcome all the time. And that's something I've had to, on my own trajectory, had to work on. I need to focus on the process and like who you're becoming during the process. And it's really about that because that's how I'm growing and evolving. Whether I win or lose, I'm no matter what, I'm gonna win because that's my mindset. I'm not attached to a number on a scoreboard or what someone's opinion is of me because that means I'm a slave to that person. Like that person's or experience is my master.
Mm.
Like, no, 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 I'm in charge. I'm CEO, I'm lead actor, I'm lead actress, I'm in charge. I don't care what's going on around me. Like, let's pick on the snow. Some people would be miserable right now. I'm so happy looking at it. But if I were in Florida with you right now, I would be equally happy because no matter what's going on around me, like I'm going to harness my power and how I'm feeling and thinking at any time. Now I'm human. Am I perfect and I'm completely steady? No. I'm a human. I'm a soul having a human experience. So of course I have emotions. Of course I have bad days. But they're character building days, not bad days. I'm building my character.
So I love that. So talk to me about this, Rebecca. So I'm imagining there might have been a time when young Rebecca came home and was like, I got beat again, or I didn't do as good as I wanted to in practice because I was playing above my skill level at some point, or maybe I was playing with people that are better than me. How did how'd those conversations go to where you didn't lose sight of the big picture, or you didn't get so discouraged, but you would continue to move forward?
I used it as a motivator that when I did have a miss, now, and again, if you're talking to young Rebecca, I was incredibly hard on myself, like
Sure.
very self-critical. I did not understand the power of the mindset. I would beat myself up if I was not first in everything. And I look back and I just want to like there, younger, but like what that is not the way to success. But I had such a hunger, but I harnessed it maybe not in always the right way. Now, did I get success? Yeah. But I used it as a motivator to get better. Like, okay, if I didn't win or if I struck out, whatever it was, softball or, I played saxophone. I mean, it could have been in anything, the grades, right? Okay, what did I miss? Because I'm not going to miss that again. And like, again, to a fault, because I was so like hard on myself, but like, I'm not going to do that again. So I'm going to analyze the heck out of it so I can figure out what I can do. So the next time I'm presented in that situation, I'm not going to make that same miss. Like I'm going to realize, okay, I've seen this movie before.
I
I
love
can
it.
understand and predict a little bit. And so that's kind of what I've done in all areas of my life. I learn from it. It's either a lesson or a blessing. So I'm learning from it. I have a lesson. Oh, this person wronged me. Okay. Well, let me pick that apart. Let me figure it out. Maybe I won't know right away if it's a perceived injustice or life isn't fair because it's not. but I'm going to figure out what I needed in that moment or experience, even if it's 1, 2, 3, 5, 10 years down the road. I'm not going to let that go until I figure out how it served me. And
Yeah.
to this day, there is not one thing that's happened in my background. And I've seen really bad things. And I've had pretty traumatic things I've seen and experienced per personally and then professionally. What was the point of that? What is God's perspective here? What was he trying to show me? And it has brought me to my knees. Not to be too serious, but it has brought me to my knees when I finally realized it, which can take you years. But I'm never going to let something happen to me without me figuring out how it served me in some way, and then how I can then serve you and others, because I'm an instrument here to serve and impact the world.
Oh, that was so good. And you know what I was thinking on that is sit with the emotion, right? Something bad happens, you lose. Sit with the emotion. It should sting, right? Losing should never be like, I just lost. Like there should be a sting to it. But then step away from the emotion and like you just said, analyze like why did I come up short? Oh, maybe I should have practiced a little more here, or maybe I should have done this thing over here. And I think that is so empowering to all of us when we realize like coming up short, failing, if you will, is just a lesson waiting to teach you something.
Mhm.
But you got
1000.
to open yourself up to it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I mean, it's ownership of everything happening. I am not a victim. I'm not playing a victim mentality, no matter what happens to me. No, because you cannot create from a place of lack or scarcity. You can create from a place of abundance. So I have to take ownership of everything. Even, again, people can go through really tough things. And I know you and I have seen a lot of that in
Mhm.
our previous career, but you cannot exist and live in that state. You have to process it. And what is wisdom? But looking back at an experience without the emotional charge. And we all should be striving to achieve that. And it can take time. So we have to give ourselves grace. Grace is very, very powerful. Grace is something that I affectionately put as one of my pillars for having a victory mindset. Grace is so important. So you want to have grace. But again, everything is for our greater good. Everything is happening for our evolution. The good, the bad, the ugly, it's the duality of life. I know lightness because of dark. I know happiness because of grief. I'm experiencing both. So let it wash over you. Sit with it, be a human, right? Process it, and then move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is it's so important for people and it's important for us to get out of our own way to success. Sometimes we are the biggest obstacle to our own success because we refuse to let go of the past or to learn from the past. And yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. And I want to shift gears with you for a second. And I want to talk about your NCIS time and specifically what did traveling the world teach you? What did you learn about yourself?
Hmm. So much. I learned so much. It's actually why I created and opened my business, Tactical Harmony, because I saw the power of holistic leadership and I saw the power of mindset. And by holistic leadership, I mean influencing and inspiring all parts of you, right? Your mind, body, and spirit. You can't lead yourself, you can't lead others. Traditional leadership is how I influence and inspire my team, my business, my clients, everybody outside of me. But it starts with you. And so I mean, I've been to 26 plus countries. I've lived overseas. I lived in Italy for many years. I mean, I'm drinking out of my Romania cup. I worked and operated in Romania for many years. And I saw no matter the culture, no matter the industry, no matter the level. I mean, I've worked in the private sector for several years, federal government for 15 almost. And these are the same principles. These are universal. These are tried and true truths and principles, right? Every one of us can harness our mindset. Now, our culture might view things differently, but we all have the power to harness all parts of ourselves, physically, mentally, and spiritually. And by spiritually, I don't just mean religiously, excuse me, that can be religious depending on what you believe, but I mean, what lights you up? What are your values? What is your purpose? All of those things. And it was just so enlightening that it opened my aperture to just so much beauty in the world and how people experience life so differently, but also how they experience themselves. And so I really learned parts of me that I didn't know existed. And it forced me to examine parts of me and be alone, because I traveled a lot alone for work, that I was able to learn so much of me. And I challenge everyone, if you can't be alone and you can't spend time by yourself, then excuse me, I challenge you to do so, because you learn so many parts of your mind and your thoughts and how you operate and limiting beliefs that you once told yourself, and it all comes to the surface when you quiet everything around you. And so the beauty of travel and experiencing this around the world just gave me that gift, and that's why I'm so passionate to give it to others, to allow them to see that you don't have to be in Ukraine or Romania or Croatia and all the places that I've traveled to. You can do it wherever you are in the world. Maybe you are in those countries. You can do it right where you are, starting now. You don't have to have a tough experience or face adversity to develop grit and resilience. You can do that now. And so I think so often we think it's only possible for others, but it's possible for us.
And it's interesting, right? Because as a NCIS agent, you're not getting called in for something good, right? So how did you balance that, right? Because in that profession, you're going to see some of the worst of humanity.
Yes.
And yet you came out saying, wait a second, I'm blessed to have been here to serve. I'm blessed. Matter of fact, I'm going to go home and shift gears and serve others. Not everybody does that, right? I guarantee there's not every NCIS agent coming out with the same mental approach you had. How did you find that and move yourself in this way?
Yeah, it was a lot of personal development. I mean, honestly, and just it was holistic leadership principles. I mean, I'm going to keep going back to that, because not all leaders are created the same, right? We know that. We've all had bad managers or toxic, leadership, and then there's the ones that were just so amazing. And I've had the ability and the honor to learn from such incredible, powerful leaders around the world. And in my opinion, the best were the holistic leaders. They mastered all parts of themselves, and then they were caring about all parts of me. It wasn't just mission, work, go, go, go. It was, hey, Rebecca, how's your dogs? How are you doing? Like, it was all parts of me. And you pay attention to that, right? You pay attention. And so that was the leader I was. When I was left NCIS, I was the assistant special agent in charge of our Marine Westfield office out in Pendleton in California. And I had a lot going on. We were one of the busiest crim offices in the entire world. There was a lot of high profile crimes all over the media, hitting headquarters. It was a lot. And how I was able to handle that, and I affectionately was referred to as PT, and my nickname was that because it was a palm tree in the breeze, that I'm steady and I'm calm. Because it could be an active shooter, it could be a homicide, whatever it was, because I was over the crim investigation and operations program there. I'm going to be calm and steady because that translates to my team. But what I did to prepare myself with that is I built the grit and resilience muscles, and I had that foundation already laid, because I can build resilience ahead of time with the small things. Don't underestimate the small things. So when crisis happens, and that was a Monday at Camp Pendleton, any NCIS bubble will tell you, like, a lot of people don't want to work at Camp Pendleton because there's a lot going on there, right?
Yeah.
I already have those muscles built. I'm capable. All the newer special agents that are there, they're looking up, they're watching, and I'm setting that tone and an example as a senior leader, that, like, wow, okay, she didn't freak out when stuff happened. Like, she was calm, she was steady. We assess incoming intelligence. We make the best decision when we have. When in charge, be in charge, leaders lead. And then I need to pivot and adjust fire when I get new intel. And that can change second by second, right? You know that, like, law
Yeah.
enforcement knows that. So that translates to your personal life as well, because in my personal life, I don't know the day's going to bring, or God forbid a tragedy happens, right? So I have to have that ability to respond and have high emotional intelligence. I'm so aware of what's going on. And so often people skip that part and they go straight to, outside strategy and skill, and they don't harness their thoughts and their feelings and just how they're moving and acting, and they're on this like blind program. So Obviously, I'm so passionate. That's why I open Tactical Harmony about this, where I'm, teaching others these strategies. And I really think it's something that in all programs, no matter pick a tech company, pick your alphabet soup federal government agency, we need to start teaching these principles more so, especially to new leaders. When they're just out the gate, they need to learn this stuff.
I'll even add to that, Rebecca. How about we teach it to brand new employees? Because shouldn't every employee be a leader?
Yes, and they are because they're leading. Yes, 1000%. I'm
Right.
so glad you said that because this is self-leadership, how I lead my finances, my relationships, my career, my business. It is not traditional, not just traditional leadership, which is the beauty of holistic leadership. These principles help you take radical responsibility and ownership of everything you're doing in every single moment. Not only is it invigorating, it's liberating because
Right.
I'm not going to you like, are you going to make me mad today, Jared? Are you going to upset me? Or do I have to go into the office today and I got to gossip with this one person because that's my program and that's what I always do? Or on my commute to work, I'm always in traffic and I always get angry because road rage. No, gone are those days. I'm not doing that. That's
Yeah.
not serving me. My energy is a currency. My time is currency. How I spend it is up to me. And we should have a sobering realization. We don't know how much time we have left, especially when you see a lot of horrendous things. That mortality becomes like, wow, I'm so grateful to go home and make a spaghetti meal with my wife or my husband. Like the little things become like,
Right.
wow, my gratitude has increased by me seeing utter horror in
Yeah.
this world. I'm so thankful that I have clothes to put on and laundry to do when so many people woke up today and weren't able to do it. Things were taken from them violently, right? And so it's this ownership of all of these things around you. And truly, it's something, it's not woo woo. It's not, oh, it's possible for them, not me. It's possible for everyone listening to this right now. If you're in law enforcement, if you are a emergency room doctor, like a stressful career, or maybe you're not in a stressful career, but you still have stress. We have stress. The same principles apply.
Yeah. And you're raising children, right? You're raising children. You want your children to take risk. You want your children to not worry about winning or losing, but enjoy the process. Here's a challenge I throw back to parents. What are you modeling?
Mm,
Right? What are you, have they seen you take a risk in a while? Have they seen you come home and go, boy, guess what? I'm not very good at this, but I'm going to stick it out because I'm learning something new. Right. And I think you hit on something that I share wholeheartedly. And that is if before I can lead others, I have to lead myself.
yes. Yes. Jared, I anyone that's been in or around my LinkedIn, my Instagram, my website, anywhere Tactical Harmony has a presence, and I've been blessed to be out there on the in the internet, I say awaken the leader within. And I want that to be like a hit. I want it to land because awaken that leader within. We all have that within us, but we have to awaken it. That requires a conscious effort. That requires taking inspired action, continuous movement to awaken it. And once you do, it's kind of like, whoa, I didn't realize this part of me existed. I didn't realize I could be this badass leader, a badass mom, dad, or whatever it is. I didn't realize I could learn the guitar. That's so incredible that I was able to do that as an adult, or I didn't realize I could do these things. Wow, I'm so glad I took a chance on me. I'm
Yep.
so glad I took a chance on me. I mean, how many people say, oh, I could never do law enforcement, I could never do this, and then they do it, right? It's if it's possible for me, it's possible for you. Evidence is the loudest voice. The 4 minute mile was like, whoa, we
Right.
can't do that until they did it. And then all of a sudden, all the people started to do it. Not all the people,
A
but a
lot.
lot of people. Why? Because they saw it was possible. But I challenge you, let's not wait to see what's possible. Let's do it. Let's start moving. Let's start creating and then create that for ourselves, whatever that looks like for you. Doesn't need to be opening a business and launching it or, you know, whatever it is for you. It could be going on that dream vacation or asking the guy and girl out that you've been thinking about for years, right? Whatever it is, like don't get to the end of your life and look back and have that bill from regret. Like I'm not going to have that. I refuse. I'll take messy action. I will put myself out there when it's uncomfortable because I know in my heart of hearts, this is what I was here to do. And I'm just going to keep plugging away. I'm just going to keep moving. And I'm blessed to have, meet people like you, Jared, and they're on that same journey. And I promise anyone listening, it keeps getting better and better and better. And then one day it all comes together and you're like, whoa, it was worth it. I'm so glad I didn't quit. Because so often, right when you quit, it's darkest before the dawn.
Yeah.
That's when it all happens. So you just got to keep moving.
Yeah. So let me ask you that question. So you were successful. You had a successful career. You're supervising and leading a large detachment at NCIS at one of the busiest places, and you decide to walk away and go do something completely different. Share with me that, because I think that's something that people are like, I'm successful here. Like this is all the success I should have, or I should just be grateful I have this success. And there's something more we want to do, but we just won't take that step. How do you walk away from being successful to try something new without knowing you're going to be successful?
Yes. Uh, Unsurprisingly, I have been asked this question probably 5,000 times because, wait a minute, you were so close to your 20. Why would you give that up? Why would you leave? That's stupid. I mean, I have had so many things told to me, Jared, by people that cared for me and loved me, and they didn't want me to like make a mistake. But I'm going to tell you this. If something is on your heart and mind, it's there for a reason. And again, especially in law enforcement, we're trained, like we trust our gut. Like we train, we rehearse, we do these things, and we trust our gut, our intuition. But you need to do that in all parts of your life. So when I was stationed up in Rhode Island, when I was leading incredible agents up in the Northeast, I started to have that nudge. Like, what would it look like if I served in another agency or in another capacity? Fast forward to many years, now I'm at our executive office and I'm overseeing all the Pacific field offices from Japan, Singapore, and all that. I still had that same voice, right? And then fast forward, now I'm at Pendleton, I'm the ASAC. I still had it. So you got to pay attention to it because it's going to continue. It's not, you can't quiet that voice. So ultimately, I hit the stage, the juncture that I'm either going to leap or I'm not. I'm going to do this. And I knew in my heart of hearts it was time. I wanted to serve in a different sector, which is why I ultimately decided, you know what, I'm going corporate. I'm going to go to a technology company. I'm going to figure this out. And it felt right. Like if it didn't feel right when I was interviewing, if it didn't feel right, or if it felt like I was efforting, then that's resistance. You don't create from that, run away, right? So I'm so tapped in and tuned in because I've harnessed these holistic leadership principles that I know when I move, I make a bold move. It doesn't have to make sense to others. And that's my lesson for anyone listening is it doesn't have to make sense to others. It only has to make sense to you. Think about when we created electricity. Think about before Disney World. Think about before Kentucky Fried Chicken. They thought Disney and Colonel Sanders was crazy. Or, electricity. Really? We're going to have electricity? Like, okay, this invisible thing that's controlling us. Okay. All right. Right. You look at someone like they have 5 heads, but that is exactly the point. You got to follow what's on your heart and mind. How many people have $1 million ideas and they never do anything with it? Velcro. Okay, Velcro's really going to make it big. Like you pick on anything. So for me, that looked like I knew I was meant to serve. Did I know about tactical harmony when I left? No. I didn't think I was going to have a podcast, write a book, open a business, start a public speaking career, be talking with fascinating people like you. I could have not fathomed that. But when you move, the universe moves. When I took a move and a bet on myself when it made no sense, financial sense, logical sense, I say F logic, move with intuition. I was happier. I unlocked this whole other level of life. Like, and I'm so blessed because NCIS gave me that gift. It wasn't that I was unhappy at NCIS. I wasn't. I was very happy. But you have to take a bet on yourself. It's on your heart and mind. It's there for a reason, and you need to pursue it. You need to activate your passions. Otherwise, they die. So here I am. I'm living proof of it. And I couldn't have fathomed doing the things that I'm doing now. There's no way I could have predicted that, but I opened my heart and mind and the universe rewarded me.
What would have happened if you didn't listen to that voice?
I'd be at headquarters in Quantico, Virginia.
Right. And you'd be on the outside successful.
Yeah. Oh,
right.
Totally. I mean, oh,
You'd
absolutely. I
have,
wouldn't be fulfilled.
right. And you'd have weight. you'd carry burden. And then, like you were saying, at the end of your life, what is left is, man, what if I would have?
Mm,
What if I'd have bet on myself? Because I think we're in this crazy time where people want everybody else to bet on them, but they're not willing to bet on yourself. And if you won't bet on you, why the hell would I bet on you?
amen.
Right. But here's what I love about that story, Rebecca, is our paths are so similar, walking away from our careers when other people said we were silly and giving up, quite honestly, financial stability to go on in something we believe in. But you know what that does? One, it builds momentum in our lives. Two, it opens up doors that we didn't even know were there. I had no idea I was going to have a podcast, and now we're in our sixth year, and I get to sit with you, and like it's a whole business. And two, it attracts other people to you that are also willing to bet on themselves.
Mm, yes.
And you know how much more fun it is running with people that are like, hey, watch this crazy shit I'm about to do. And you're like, whoa, maybe
Hold
I
my
got
beer and watch this.
yeah, right. I need to, maybe I'm playing it safe. And now all of a sudden playing it safe looks so much different than it did 10 years ago. And
Yeah.
you're constantly evolving. And is that not the goal in life is to always be evolving?
Yes. I mean, I know you can resonate with this. I had no idea how to open a business. What's an LLC? Wait, what do I have to do? This Google domain? That was foreign to me. I had no idea. But again, going back to an earlier statement, if your what and why are powerful, like there's no stopping me. I know that I want to serve and help others and allow them to see what's possible and grow leaders and future leaders. Like the how, the tyranny of how, yeah, I'll figure out this microphone thing. I am not good at tech, y'all, but you know what? I'll figure it out. I'll figure out how to plug this in. I know enough to be dangerous. You're going to figure it out. The how
Yeah.
is easy. And that's where people get hung up because they
Mm.
don't start on the what and the why, which is internal. Internal work drives external results. Like this cannot be like you can't bypass this. There aren't shortcuts. Hard truth, y'all. Like there are not shortcuts. So when you start with that, you're like, oh, wow. And then boom, magically you get the person that you meet that's like that provides the opportunity or the email or the text, or you bump into someone at the grocery store, synchronicities, everything starts to flow and ease. That's a sign you're on the right path. It's a sign you're on the right path. No one taught me how to do this. I don't know about you. I'm sure no one taught you how to do all this. And look how successful all these years in. Like that's so incredible. It's so beautiful to witness. And then you get to meet such incredible people that have that hunger and that fire in their belly that I know I'm meant for more. Let's try something crazy. You ready? Yeah, let's go. Boom. And then you create something so powerful. And it's not about us. It's about giving. It's about everybody else. It's not about me. None of this is about me. This is about helping and serving others, doing acts of service for others.
Yeah. And which in turn is more fulfilling than any selfish desire you could try to achieve.
Yes.
Right. And see, it's such a dichotomy there, right? Because it's not about you, but it has to start with you. Right. And I
Yes.
think about it, I can't serve others and do all the things I want in the community if I don't take care of myself.
Yes.
Right. So you got to be selfish to be selfless.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. No, it's so good. And but before we let you go, Rebecca, I do want to talk to you about your book because I'm super intrigued. Unleashed Holistic Leadership Insights from Our Canine Companions.
Yes.
How did you come about deciding to write the lessons you learned from your dogs?
Yes. Yeah, for those watching, I have a big smile on my face. And for those listening, you could probably hear my smile because I took my two passions, holistic leadership and dogs, and I married them. And then I birthed this baby, unleashed holistic leadership insights from our canine companions. And I can remember the idea occurred to me when I was still an NCIS agent, and I was at a rooftop bar having a mimosa with my husband overlooking the Pacific Ocean in La Jolla in San Diego. For those of you that know the San Diego area, La Jolla is very beautiful. And I remember like it was like a download. I was like, I'm so passionate about these things. And I took out my phone and I opened my notepad and I wrote the chapters. And my husband Mark looked at me like I was crazy, right? So that's a good sign, y'all. When people look at you like you're crazy, right? This was years ago. This was 2019, 2020, 2021, thereabouts. And then fast forward to 2024, and it was after I was in a peak energetic state, and I was actively manifesting. And I took out my journal, and I knew whatever I wrote down was going to come into my world. This was March of 2024. It came out. Like I wasn't thinking about the book. Nowhere in my business plan was a freaking book, but it came out. April, I started writing it. June, I finished. July was editing. And then in November, I released it. In December, technically, I released it in the world. So dogs organically display holistic leadership. They organically display mindfulness, gratitude, discipline. They show us adventure and curiosity. They show us how the power of influence and inspired action and mental fitness, things about our body, love and connection. And, these are all chapters. And I weave in these lessons that our dogs teach us every day. Every day, like the importance of grounding and just sitting in the sun and what that means. Like they do it intuitively. They're not putting on a mask. They're not putting on a front. If they're happy, you'll see it. If they're unhappy, you will see it, right? What if we acted like that? What if we started to adopt that curious mindset? They're curious. They want to know what's going, like they're playful. We forget how to be a kid. We forget how to, and dogs do this. They give us these lessons so beautifully. So I weave a lot of personal lessons. I talk about all of my dogs, and then I anchor in these holistic leadership lessons that I train on. That's my book.
I love it. And I think you are so spot on there. And one, I want to thank you for having the courage to just follow your instinct and put out a book and to write it and to do it in the manner of like a dog. A dog doesn't behave every day wondering what other people think of it. Right. And I think for humans, we spend so much of our time shutting ourselves down, dimming our own lights, not stepping into who we're supposed to be because we're worried about what somebody else thinks, or heaven forbid, me being me makes you uncomfortable.
Yes.
Right. A dog doesn't care. Like a dog is going to live its best life. And so super proud of you for doing that. And that's a lot of work. And it takes a lot of, courage, quite honestly, to throw it out there and go, hey, I know people are going to read this and it's out there forever. And I applaud you for that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's no, I appreciate that. That was very kind of you to say. And it's one of those things like you just know, and you move. And like the book wrote itself. Like I don't know what writer's block is. It was so easy. Like I know people think I'm lying when I say it. I'm like, no, it just flowed. Every Sunday morning, it was my ritual. Every Sunday morning I wrote. That's it for a couple of hours every Sunday morning. And it was just so beautiful. I mean, I was laughing. I was crying. I mean, there's some parts in the book. I mean, I
Yeah.
explore all parts. It was just, it was a gift. It was a gift I gave myself. And I find myself, and I shit you not. And my husband laughs at me when I encountered something tough recently with my senior pup who's 15, Diego, we love you. You're awesome. And I had to reread one of my chapters. I actually picked up one of the chapters. I was like, I know what I need to do. And I'm letting my human part take over. I had to pick up and reread part of my book. And Mark goes, are you literally learning from yourself? Are you literally? And I'm like, yes, I am, because I know what I need to do and I'm not doing it
Yeah.
because I have awareness. And again, it's lighthearted. There's so much beauty and like, it's a simple love they give us. And we
Yeah.
complicate love. And I mean, there's just so much goodness. And if you're a dog lover, this one's for you. But even if you're not, and you know someone that's been impacted by a dog, I encourage you to pick it up and give it a try. I mean, the ebook's $2.99. Like it's a no-brainer. I'll
Yeah.
send you a free copy. But it really does just open your lens, open what you can think of, and you start to look at your dogs a little differently. But really, it's about you to realize, wow, I'm going to wake this part up. I'm going to start doing this, right? And then you start,
Yeah.
operating differently, and you impact others differently again, because it's not about us. And anyway, I appreciate you bringing it up. It was definitely my two passions, and I'm just very grateful.
And I'd be remiss, Rebecca, not to bring it up, right? Because a lot of times people want to focus on what we've done. What was my career? What was this story? But who you are is the true measure of our lives, like who we are to others. Are we willing to share our gifts? Are we true to ourselves? And So of course I want to talk about that because I think the other thing from us learning from dogs is just how short life truly is
Hmm.
because they age so much more rapidly than we do. So like we finally became empty nesters 2 years ago and we made it like a year and Andrea's like, no, we got to get a dog. Like I need something else to love. So we got Otis, right? And you're like,
Otis.
oh, he's the best, dude. He is the best. But you're like,
So good.
maybe I don't feel like running today. And but Otis loves running. I'm like, man, if I don't run with him today, that's like him going a week without running because he's
Yep.
aging faster than me. Or if we like, we'll just leave him here and we'll go out to this beach that's not dog friendly instead of finding a dog friendly. Well, that's a whole week of beach life he didn't experience. And I think at this stage of my life, having him, that's one of the things that I'm really learning from the dog is like do things every day because his life goes so fast.
Yeah. You never let a day go by that you're not living. Because, I mean,
Yeah.
how many of us go through the motions? I know I did. I
Oh,
went the period, I went like get up, make my coffee, going to work, don't know what's going to happen that day, respond to duty call, go home, make dinner, shower, but like you just go through the motions. But are you living, like really living? And
mm,
that's a lesson I teach in the book. Like, are you really living
yeah.
every day, every meal? They wag their tails. They're so freaking grateful for what I'm giving them. Like I get like seriously teary thinking about like there's just so much beauty that they it should bring you. Sorry, I don't mean to get emotional, but there's just
Yeah.
so much beauty in this world, Jared. Like it's so beautiful. And it's like every day I am given this gift when others are not. I am gonna go outside. I don't care if it's snowing, if it's raining. I'm gonna take the dogs out and I'm gonna experience everything. I'm gonna smell the scents, like feel the wind on my face, like really be mindful. That's chapter one. Pause and reflect. And I mean, there's just so much that we can get out of life that we forget that a certain dollar amount in our bank account, or we forget that this person wronged us 20 years ago and we're still pissed off about it. Like it makes everything like you just quiet that noise and
Yeah.
then you enhance all the goodness and beauty in life because we don't know what's going to happen. So we should live every moment to the fullest. And dogs truly, truly give us that gift. And I even got emotional thinking about it, but I mean, it truly like my heart just explodes when you think about it, like all of it.
Yeah. No, Rebecca, it's been such an honor to have you on the show this week and to share your story with our community. Where can they tap into all the things that are Rebecca and Tactical Harmony?
Tacticalharmony.com. Pretty much, if you Google that, you'll find me. So on my website, I have all my coaching and public speaking services. You can find the book. You can find all the links to my podcast, which is also called Tactical Harmony. I'm on Apple, Spotify, and iHeart. And then on LinkedIn, you can look up Tactical Harmony or my name, Rebecca Fitzsimmons. Instagram's Tactical Harmony. So yeah, that's where you can find me and what I'm up to.
And what about the book? Is it out on Amazon? Is that where they're going?
Yes, it is. So the book is on Amazon in paperback and ebook, so you can hop on there. And I have the link on my website. But if you look up holistic leadership or unleashed and holistic leadership or my name, the book will pop right up, and you'll see a picture of the dog. I mean, you can see it back there with the reflection on the beach. And I chose that because Clover, my dog who passed a few years ago, I call him my soul dog. He is a frequent flyer in the book, but he loved swimming in the ocean. And
Mm.
we frequented those San Diego dog beaches like nobody's business. And so it just seems so fitting to have that as the cover.
Rebecca, thank you so much for the conversation and for what you're doing in the world. Keep your light shining, my friend. Keep betting on yourself, and we're in your corner cheering you on.
I love it. Thank you so much for having me.